Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Look It Up podcast. I'm Chip Ulmer, and it's my co-host and pawpaw, Tony Gudo. You can find us on YouTube under the Look It Up podcast and Facebook under his name, Tony Gudo. Now,
welcome everybody.
Yes, welcome back.
Let's talk a little bit about the Saints.
Let's talk about the Saints to
And
open it up.
then we're going to finish up on Sweet 16 and UFC. Right now, the Saints made a change, made an addition. They did re-sign Chris Rupp, the defensive end. They extended him to a couple more years.
Chris Rupp.
I think it was yesterday they signed him for a couple of years. They also brought in a new quarterback, an additional quarterback, a former first-round pick. Early first-round pick, wasn't he? He was like in the top 3.
He was the number 1 pick.
Was he number 1? Anyway,
Zach Wilson.
Coming from Miami. Saints signed him to a 1-year deal, so he'll be in competition with Tyler Suck and Spencer Rattler. If they decide to keep Rattler, we hadn't decided. I don't think they made a decision on that yet, but it looks like they probably will.
But will we all come to a good agreement? At this point, we believe Tyler Shuck is the franchise guy at the moment.
He should be. Yeah, he's
based on what he showed towards the end of the season last year, Tyler Shuck is the Saints quarterback going into 2026.
Yeah, and probably into the future. I think they still need to draft a quarterback. I'm not sure they're going to draft one this year. If not, they'll probably draft one next year.
They won't draft one early either.
No, it'll be later. But next year is going to be a lot more quarterbacks coming out, so the opportunity will probably be better there if they need to. But I always say you should draft a quarterback every year.
Yeah.
You should always bring people in. You just never know, no matter what round it is. I mean, that's quarterbacks. Look, the San Francisco guy, he was the last player in the draft. He's starting for the 49ers. Brady was what, 5th or 6th round?
7th round.
7th round. He's starting. He was starting. Won several Super Bowls. So you just never know. That's why you bring them in and try them out. In addition to that, there was a couple of Joe Falco. Joe Falco signed today a 1-year contract to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Back to the Cincinnati.
Yeah, but his comment was, "I wish I was a guy somewhere, and I think teams are very dumb for not having me to be that guy." In other words, he thinks he should be starting somewhere, but he's 40-something years old, 41 or something.
Yeah, why would he sign with the Bengals then?
Well, I think he was there last year at the end of the year.
He was, but then.
Well,
they still have Joe Burrow.
We never know with Joe Burrow. He might be hurt again. You never know.
I think he'll be healthier this year.
We hope. If he's healthy, the Cincinnati Bengals, if the defense improves, they got a shot to do something this coming year. So we'll find out.
Agreed.
We'll see how that goes. Anyway, this week starts the UFL, United Football League, begins this Friday. There's 4 games this week. Birmingham against Louisville on Friday night at 7. DC, the team I like, I watched them last year quite a bit. The DC team against St. Louis at 11 a.m. on Saturday. And on Saturday afternoon, there's a Houston at Dallas, 3 p.m. And on Sunday night at 7 o'clock, Columbus at Orlando, 7 p.m. Sunday. Think about these games. These players are working and trying to prove their way to get into the NFL. Some people think there's a few quarterbacks in this league that can probably get to an NFL team maybe sometime this year.
Yeah.
Maybe not start, but maybe be a backup somewhere and then work their way up to a start. So it'd be interesting to watch these games. I watched a lot of them last year. I'm interested. I'll be watching a few of them this week in between the basketball games because guess what? It is time for what? Sweet 16.
Sweet 16.
Sweet
March
16.
Madness
March
is
Madness
getting
is
into.
continuing. What happened last week? Woo!
We had some big upsets.
A lot of upsets last week. Remember this: since 1954, 1954. That's before I was born. The Sweet 16. These 4 teams are the first time they've been out of the Sweet 16 since 1954. Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, and UCLA. All 4 of them are out of the Sweet 16 the first time since 1954. That's amazing. Anyway, I did my bracket last week. I did pretty good. I still have 13 out of 16 teams still in the Sweet 16. So I did pretty good on my bracket. Got a few knocked out early, and of course Kentucky got knocked out. Florida, for a lot of people, had Florida winning it all. They got knocked out. I still say Duke or Houston, they're probably going to win it, but we'll see what happens when it all comes down. I got the spreads right in front of me here. Last week I went 3-1 on my picks. 3-1. So if you made any wagers on my picks last week, you made a few coins. So what happens if you make any bets? Bet only what you can afford to lose. I'm gonna give you a few picks this week, but anyway, here's the spreads right now. Beginning tomorrow evening, I think it starts at 6. Purdue is a 7.5 point favorite over Texas, a 2 seed over 11 seed. Nebraska is 1.5 point over Iowa, 4 seed versus a 9 seed. Arizona, 1 seed versus Arkansas, 4 seed. Arizona is 7.5 point favorite. Houston minus 2.5 against Illinois, 2 and a 3 seed. On Saturday, Duke minus 6.5 against a 5 seed, St. John's. Michigan minus 9.5, number 1 seed against Alabama, number 4 seed. UConn, 1.5 point favorite over Michigan State. I like Michigan State. I always like Michigan State. I hope they beat UConn. 2 and 3. Iowa State, a number 2 seed, playing Tennessee minus 4.5. Tennessee's a 6 seed. The 3 picks I like, I'm going to give you 3 picks. Remember, if you make any wagers, only bet what you can afford to lose. The teams I like the best, I like Iowa plus 1.5 over Nebraska. I think Iowa's a better team than Nebraska. We'll find out. They get the point here. I think it's a close game. I still think Iowa covers and wins that game. Arizona, I like Arizona. They're the 1 seed. I think they beat Arkansas and covered a 7.5 point spread. I think they win by 10 or more points against Arkansas. And a dog, I am going to take St. John's over Duke. I don't think they beat Duke, but 6.5 I think is too much. St. John's a good basketball team. Rick Pitino is a good coach. I think they hang in there with Duke.
Rick Pitino's always been a good coach.
Yeah, I think they're still hanging there with Duke. I don't know if they can beat Duke. I doubt they can beat Duke, but you just never know. That's why they play the game, right? Mm-hmm. My prediction for the top 4, here's my prediction. I like Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and Houston. That's my 4 that I think is going to be in the Final 4 at the end of Sunday when everything comes out for next week. Anyway, that's about it on that. We're going to move on now to a few other things. Let's talk about the NBA. What's going on with the NBA?
NBA. So, lots going on. The big thing that pretty much happened, the Pistons and Lakers played on Monday, and the Lakers snapped their 9-game winning streak.
They lost the game.
They lost their game. Only by 3, though, to the Pistons. But the Pistons are the number 1 team in the East.
Yeah.
So
losing to them
the
was
Lakers,
not a big deal.
no, the Lakers are still, I believe, third in the West. Yeah, third in the West. So yesterday there was only 4 games. Hornets beat the Kings. Pelicans lost to the Knicks. Cavaliers beat the Magic, and the Nuggets beat the Suns. Now today there is a lot of games. There is 4, 8, 12. 12 games
I think
today.
they're trying to put a lot of them right now before the Sweet 16 kicks off tomorrow.
Yeah, between 6 o'clock and 9:30, there's 12 games today. So today, the Lakers play the Pacers, Hawks play the Pistons, Bulls play the 76ers, Heat play the Cavaliers, Thunder play the Celtics. That is probably the best game of the day. Thunder versus Celtics.
Yeah.
Then the Spurs versus Grizzlies, Wizards versus Jazz, Rockets versus Timberwolves. That also should be a good game. Bucks versus Trailblazers, Nets Warriors, and Mavericks Nuggets, and Raptors Clippers.
A lot of games. You don't know the spreads on those games. So I didn't even look them up.
There's not really spreads, but 9 teams have clinched play-in position. Actually, the Spurs and the Thunder. Spurs, Thunder, and Pistons have all clinched the playoffs. But 3 through 9 in the West have clinched the play-in. So
they get in no matter what.
no, they're not. They technically no matter what, if they lose all of their games, they're technically still in the play-in to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but then only Celtics, Knicks, and Cavaliers are in play-in. The rest of the teams could not pretty much make it because there's not really good teams going on in the East. The West is where it's at. There's some pretty good teams in the West. So that's it for the NBA for this week.
Yeah, something I didn't cover I wanted to go over is this week is the March Madness for the women. LSU doing good.
LSU, I got it up here.
LSU won 2 games back-to-back and scored over 100 points in those games.
Listen. LSU beat Jacksonville in the first round, 116-58. Then they go on to play Texas Tech. Now, I thought Texas Tech was going to be a little closer.
It was close in the first half, but then
in the second half, they opened up some, I don't know what Kim Mulkey told them in the locker room, but they were on fire.
Well, the difference right now in the LSU team compared to what they were 3-4 weeks ago is defense.
Defense.
They're playing defense. And Kim
So
Mulkey said that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Unless we turn our defense on and start playing good defense, we're probably not going to do that well in March Madness. Now they're in the Sweet 16.
Then they move on to play Texas Tech, and they beat them 101-47. And LSU is headed to their 4th straight Sweet 16, and they broke the D1 record, boys and women's, for most 100-point games in the season.
Yeah, in history. Yeah, in history.
16 games with over 100 points.
And this week they play Duke.
They play Duke. Now that's going to be a good
2
game.
seed against a 3 seed.
That's going to be a good team. So they got to bring their A game like they have the last couple of days.
And some of the other games going on in that league is Vanderbilt playing Notre Dame. UConn, which is another good team, playing North Carolina. UCLA playing Minnesota. That's all on Friday, and LSU and Duke. LSU and Duke don't play till 9 o'clock on Friday night, which is a good time. Gives everybody time to get their Lenten dinners done for the last week of Easter break.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, Louisville and Michigan play. Kentucky plays number 1 Texas. Oklahoma plays number 1 South Carolina. And Virginia plays number 3 TCU. Of course, the best teams in here, more than likely, I think, is South Carolina, UConn,
Texas,
and LSU. That's the top 4, I believe.
If LSU can get rebounds and play defense, we can go pretty far.
Yeah.
But when we played Texas and South Carolina, we were not rebounding and playing defense. That's why we lost.
We're not going to play Texas unless we're in the Final Four.
Yeah.
When we play, they're on the other bracket. So anyway, LSU's looking real good. We'll find out pretty soon how good they are because Friday night they play Duke. If their defense shows up like they did the last few weeks, they should win that game. And I'm not sure who they play. It looks like if they beat Duke, they will play more than likely the winner of Minnesota and UCLA, I think. Anyway, I'm not sure about that, but that's what they showed here, the possible rematches. But the biggest thing now is what? Got to win the game. Got to win every game. You can't lose. It's a do or die nowadays. But LSU basketball, Kim Mulkey has turned things around and things look very good for him. And it's going to continue, I think, the next few years. Ever since she's been here, she's broken her record too. She's won more games, been to more Sweet 16s, and the only 2 coaches better than her is Pat Summitt from Tennessee, and who was the lady at Iowa? The lady at Iowa.
I forgot her name.
I don't think she's there no. I think she retired. I think her and Pat Summitt are the only 2 that went to more Sweet 16s than Kim Mulkey.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Kim Mulkey's done a good job. Hopefully she continues to do that for LSU now and into the future. Let's turn it over to the last thing we're going to talk about is UFC.
Yeah,
This
so
week.
we got some good fight night this weekend, Saturday, in Seattle, Washington, UFC Fight Night is. So the starter of the card, we will have Terrence McKinney, pretty good up-and-coming fighter in the lightweight division, will go up against Kyle Nelson. Then, Mansour Abdul Malik will go against Yasuri Belgagaru. That's a hard.
I gotta pronounce those
That's
names.
a hard last name to pronounce. Then, Julian Erosa will fight Larian Douglas in the featherweight division. Then, in the welterweight, Michael Maverick Chiesa will fight Nico Price. Then, for the co-main event, former champion Alexa Grasso will go against Macy Barber. And for the main event, one of my favorite fighters to watch of all time, Israel Adesanya, former two-time middleweight champion, a lot of defenses in the middleweight division as a title holder, one of the greats of MMA history, will go up against Joe Pyfer. Now, Joe Pyfer is a hard opponent for Izzy, but Izzy is one of those guys that is very good. Joe Pyfer recorded the hardest punch over Francis Ngannou, which is a very strong individual who is in the heavyweight division, who was in the heavyweight division, not anymore, not in UFC anymore. But Joe Pyfer hits harder than him, and they are two divisions lighter than them. So Izzy is going against a good fighter, but I love Izzy, and I hope he can get it done this weekend. I really hope he can get it done. I need him to get back on track. And if he loses, the only way I see him losing is by knockout. And if he loses, I will say that he should probably hang it up.
Hang it up. Put the gloves in the middle of the
octagon.
Something we didn't cover, I want to talk a little bit about the draft. We didn't talk about the draft. The NFL draft is only 27 days away. 27 days away. Can't wait. It's going to be good. Who's in it? Let's look at it real quick. Here's a mock draft. Here is from Mel Kiper. We're going to look at just Mel Kiper this week. In the next few weeks, after the Sweet 16 and finals are over, we're going to talk more about the drafts, and we'll look at different mock drafts. And we're going to do our own mock draft. We're going to try to do us a mock draft live while we're on the air and do us a mock draft. Fernando Mendoza, right now they say he's going to be the top pick going to the Vegas Raiders. David Bailey is what they're predicting now, the edge from Texas Tech to go to the Jets. Arizona is going to, if he's there, they're going to take Orville Reese, and I would take him too.
Yeah.
The edge out of Ohio State. Tennessee. They say Tennessee's going to take Sonny Styles, the linebacker. I'm a little concerned there. I don't think they take him. I still think Tennessee's going to take Jeremiah Love. Yeah, that quarterback is a second-year quarterback in Tennessee. They got a new coach, and they're trying to win. And the best thing to help a quarterback, what you do? Get a good running back. And Jeremiah Love is going to be there. So if it'd be me, I'd be taking Jeremiah Love. That's what I think Tennessee's going to do. The Giants, Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs, I heard a lot about him today. I was listening to the NFL channel today, and they were talking about him. Caleb Downs, in the last 2 years, his last 2 years in college at Ohio State, he only missed two tackles in 2 years. He is a great safety. He can play corner too, but he's a great safety. He's all over the field. He can play up, inside, like a linebacker. He can play out and cover everybody. So they say the Giants are going to pick him. Cleveland, Cornell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State.
I want him to come to New Orleans.
I do too, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. They say Jeremiah Love to the Redskins.
Commanders.
Sure. So the Commanders. They still call them the Redskins, I'm sorry. And the Saints, they say we're going to take Reuben Bain, the edge out of Miami.
That's a good pick.
That's a good pick. But you know the guy that played with him in Miami is probably as good or better. As good or better. Kind of reminds me of back when Ricky Jackson came out of Pittsburgh. And the other guy, what was his name? I slipped his mind. But anyway, he was coming out. He was supposed to be the best linebacker, bar none, that year. And he got drafted early, and he didn't do anything really in the NFL. Ricky Jackson came to New Orleans, put New Orleans on the map, ended up getting a Super Bowl ring with San Francisco when he transferred there. So anyway, Reuben Bain would be a good pick, but like I said, the other guy on the other side is just as good. So we'll see what happens. Kansas City, they say he's going to take Jordan. They're going to take Jordan Tyson,
Jordan Tyson. That's a good player as well.
Cincinnati's going to take. They say Mansour DeLong out of LSU.
Delane.
Hey, that was a good LSU player this week. They had everybody, even the
Pro Day.
Harold Perkins ran a 4.3, a 4.340.
He ran a 4.38.
Well, whatever. That's pretty good.
Mansour Delane ran a 4.35.
Yeah. So Miami's going to take Francis Muyunga out of Miami. Dallas going to take quarterback Jerome McCoy out of Tennessee. The Rams from Atlanta are going to take Monroe Freeling to go tackle out of offensive tackle out of Georgia. Baltimore is going to take Spencer Fano, the offensive lineman out of Utah. Tampa Bay, the edge. They probably need an edge because one of the guys just retired. David just retired after 14 years. 14 years, yeah. So they probably need to get him a linebacker. They show the Jets picking up Mikael Lemon. I'd like to see the Saints get him. He would be a good pick. Detroit taking Caden Proctor, offensive tackle. Minnesota taking Dylan Theismann, safety out of Oregon. Carolina taking Keon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon.
Kenyon Sadiq.
And, anyway, I pronounced it wrong. It don't matter. Anyway, running back. Dallas taking a running back. No, edge, excuse me. Mason Thomas. Pittsburgh taking, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but he's a guard out of Penn State. Iowan. The Chargers taking Emmanuel McNeil Warren out of South Toledo. Philadelphia taking Omar Cooper. Ooh, that's a good receiver out of Indiana. And Cleveland taking offensive tackle Caleb Loma. Chicago taking an edge, Zion Young out of Mizzou. 36. So Arizona at 26 taking Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama in the first round. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I think another quarterback may go out in the first round. We'll find out. San Francisco taking Kendrick Ford, the edge out of Auburn. Houston, Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. Kansas City, Cassius Howell, the edge out of Texas A&M. Miami to take Casey Concepcion, the receiver from Texas A&M. I think the Saints are interested in that guy too. New England taking Denzel Boston, the wide receiver out of Washington, very good receiver. And the Seattle Seahawks taking Avion Terrell, the quarterback out of Clemson. That's the first round. That's what Mel Copper does. There's a lot of other people doing mock drafts, probably 10 or 15 sports writers that do mock drafts. So everybody has a little bit of different opinion along the way. Also, yesterday started LSU spring practice. All three quarterbacks, even Levitt, was out there throwing the ball. And who was watching over him? Lane Kiffin was watching over him. So anyway, we'll see. We'll give you more information.
He also had a press conference yesterday as well.
Did you hear the press conference?
I didn't really hear what he said, but he said some good things, I think.
Well, he was interested. He was really
he was saying it was good
about the quarterbacks.
He was saying it was good that Sam got to be able to get some throws in yesterday. And, yeah.
He was really excited about his offensive coaches, the two offensive line coaches. He really thinks they're going to do a good job.
And the running back coach, Kevin Smith.
He thinks they're both going to do a good job. So anyway, that's going to be it for today. Remember, my picks are Iowa plus 1.5 over Nebraska, Arizona minus 7.5 over Arkansas, and St. John plus 6.5 over Duke. Thanks for watching. If you can't find anything and you don't know what to do, what do? You look it up. And if you're looking for us, where you find us? Right here on Facebook. Look at Facebook under my name, Tony Gudo.
Or YouTube under the Look It Up podcast.
Yep. Anyway.
That's it for the day.
Go girls.
Go girls basketball. Let's go win it all.
Who dat?
Go Tigers.
See y'all next week.
Bye-bye.
Please share us.